We are mainstream. Those guys don't want to go to SBL. They think it's a circus. And so they don't want to have any part of it. That maelstrom of belief and all of the loaded topics and all the charged kind of politics that's going on with that. And so I even brought up to Cusco, the former president of SBL, when I was more involved there, before I got completely frustrated. I said, why don't we have a checkbox at least, so that when people start sessions at the conference, they could indicate this is a purely secular session, or this is a purely evidence-driven humanistic kind of platform. Please do not, we do not invite, discussion that's aimed at theological constructs or anything that's motivated by faith whatsoever. Even if you were to announce that, people would show up and still import all of their beliefs and so on.
Of course.
So yeah, it's almost impossible basically to get out of that. And so I just decided that my discourse is going to be outside of that. I take my hat off to those people that are still out there. A lot of them are orbiting so far out there, like the John J. Collinses and stuff, that they're still extremely informative to me and helpful, and I respect them.
But they also, there's a place they've kept their career. Like, you're suggesting that there would be no way to probably keep that career and do what you were doing and write what you're writing and actually teach what you're teaching here and keep a career at somewhere like Yale Divinity or Princeton Theological or any of these places. You would probably lose your job without a doubt.
Well, I haven't heard the phone call yet, and I don't know. I mean, I understand that maybe they see me as not qualified or something like that. I don't know what they're very selective, and they only have openings here and there, and I'm probably not on their short list at this point. But
right.
But just this kind of stuff, I mean, that's what they'd have to weigh through. Do we want somebody like this that's doing work that's so upsetting to so many people in a context where we're training ministers and clergy and clerics and this kind of thing? Is that where he belongs?
Yeah, I'd love to see scholarship, the institutions incorporate people like you to give people of faith at least knowing, like they do. They teach them things about contradictions. They teach them all this stuff. They don't preach that stuff. They're not, but it'd be at least in the right direction of letting them hear that discourse. Instead, you're not. So the final thing about that, I'd like to say, is you're suggesting that the people who think SBL and other societies like that are circuses, to use your words, is a big clown show of like circus. I have to emphasize that. So, is that these are probably classicists who see they don't want to wade into the storm of New Testament drama that goes on, even though they might see it actually categorized in that vein. It is a classicist thing. It is a Greek thing. It is a Hellenized thing that would fit right into classics and work perfectly. But because so much drama is attached to it, because we have a living religion still, whereas like there might be people out there who worship Zeus in the world or think Hercules is true. There is no systematic power. They have no power. There's so little in the world, so it's okay. Like
they're irrelevant to the discussion. Yeah, that's the opposite of the case here. Yeah.
So you're saying that's why the living religion has that much power, strength, and struggle that they don't even want to engage in dialogue because of this.
Yeah. I think that, and my doctoral work was transdisciplinary. I took a lot of classics courses. I had a lot of classics, professors over me, training me from various places, UCLA, Yale, the Claremont colleges, and other places. And so I was in those contexts, and I got to hear what the backroom discussions were at a lot of these places. And no, they don't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole. They're not interested. Even the people that I got on my dissertation committee, it was a little bit of a struggle to get them to be part of it. And I thank them, because their careers are now tied to my work in some way, that they might not have signed on for that. They don't want to be part of being pulled into some apologetic debate with people throwing, mud and poop at them. And they've got dignified careers all in their own right, and they didn't sign up for that. And so it definitely spoils and ruins, and I think utterly destroys the discourse. The Greek lexicon, for instance, there's no such thing as a New Testament lexicon. It doesn't exist. There's no such thing as the New Testament in its own right. That's a construct that we're foisting upon it. This is just earliest Christian writing.
Okay, so last thing, I'm sorry I'm adding this on,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I think this is important what you're saying here. In your private discussions with classicists that come from the Greek Roman research that they know some New Testament stuff.
Yeah.
Are they looking at this like you're looking at this? Do they see this stuff? I mean, I'm sure there's some people who have faith in classicist departments, but the ones that you're saying are secular, that are like obviously not engaging at all, are they looking at this going, this is another legend? Like this is obviously another one of them?
Yeah. There's mixed. I've seen that. I've seen a lot of that actually. Backroom discussions. I've shared my research at places. Some of the list I gave you with top people, and they'll look at it and say, yeah, you're correct. In fact, Veronica Grimm, who initially got me on my way to reading Romulus, I think in the back of her mind, later on talking to her, she said, I selected that text sort of at the beginning because I knew you were coming from the divinity school. And I thought you should maybe take a peek at that. And so they're quietly doing that it's kind of like I'm a proxy in that way. But, so those are backroom kind of ivory tower academic discussions that the world, the larger world is not privy to. There are others too that were trained to, because they're also trained to have that dividing line. And so some of them, their Christianity course that they take basically says, no, nothing to see here, move on. This is all Jewish. And so they're trained also to draw that line in the sand. And a lot of that line starts to, get disrupted as they begin actually doing their real work over time. And that's where I find these interesting and very honest discussions. So you, Robin Faith Walsh, Dennis MacDonald, Litwa would be in this category at least, and you, of course, we'll get later into some of the criticisms of the recent work, how the Gospels became history and stuff. But these are people that we can say are at least engaging as fair and as close to what the reality is with this literature in a Greek, Roman, Jewish world. Yeah. Now that doesn't mean we're all right, but at least we're on the golf course.
Got it.
We're on the golf course, we're hitting the ball. Now, what's bizarre to me is oftentimes when you go to actual normal, what we would call mainstream New Testament studies, they think they're just on the putting green perfecting their discussion. This group that you're talking about, those that are doing true transdisciplinary work that's untethered to theology from a classicist, hybridic kind of perspective, we don't even think they're on the golf course. And so you might quibble about where we're at on this and that. I actually think I'm pretty damn close to right on this, about 99%. My core arguments, I'm 1,000% confident in. Some of my ancillary arguments are up for discussion, and that's part of the discourse. This is like a science. We're going to grow and learn. No one's going to have the final answer on it, but we're going to advance in our understanding. And so that's where I think it's at. And I believe I've made a strong contribution in that way. But yeah, I think that basically you've got a group of people that are doing rigorous work in that space, trying to truly contextualize these writings within the world that they grew up, within the world that they found their initial meaning. And so I don't find that going on at a lot of the divinity schools and seminaries in this country.
Thank you.
I hope you liked my dad, Richard Miller, in this interview. Remember to like and subscribe. And never forget, we are Miss Vision.